Yo, what's up, Fire Tribe? Welcome to Sunday Slow Burn. Oh,
Sunday slow burn. Sunday. We are live.
today we are talking about the legendary leprechauns.
Oh yeah, it's exciting. I learned a lot of new stuff when looking this up. Like yet again,
Yeah,
sideswept. It's seemingly kind of hard to lock down and to catch the leprechaun, like physically and historically, like fucking trying to
they're
figure
elusive.
out, like, they're very elusive. So just putting ourselves in pickles, putting ourselves in research pickles. We're just like, hey, what, so I love it, man. We're lacking a sage on this day. Andy is not here this week.
Yes.
He's at a sweet, ugly sweater party. So drink one for your boys.
What's up, Indy? Anyway, shout out to Indy.
Yes. Oh, and look at this. We got some humans straight up in the chat skis. We got Bird Dog slapping in what you're saying. We got Stacy. What's happening, sister? We got Shannon. What's happening, sister? What's crackling, y'all? It's raining in Cali. Is it raining where you're at, Dan? Down south?
No,
He's in
it's
a little
not.
bit more
It's
central
nice
Cali.
out.
Oh, for real.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's supposed to rain hard tonight though, and into tomorrow.
Check this out. This is what I'm going to be doing while we're podding hard. You guys see that? See that? I got my copper pot full of flowers and hot water. I'm going to be soaking my feet, my Chevrolets, my little Lamborghinis. I'm going to be soaking them while we speak.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh,
Nice.
So where do we begin, man? Where are we beginning today?
Well, I think to start we just need to talk about origins, right?
Yeah.
Etymology.
Etymology.
Like where does the word leprechaun come from? What does it mean? Like that type of thing. I have an article here. I'll present it right now. Here we go.
All right, pull that puppy up. You do you, and then I'll do me after, and we'll find out how many Lucky Charms are in the bowl.
All right. That's fine. Yeah, I wanted to name this episode "They After Me Lucky Charms," but Roman thought that episode name was stupid. So, fascinating facts you probably did not know about leprechauns.
Wait, real quick, before
perhaps-
we go on, just real quick, zoom up, go up a little bit to that top picture.
Yeah.
That guy on the right, he is all over the internet. That's like the classic cartoon everybody's using in all these videos for. But I wonder where that art actually comes from. Like, I'm wondering what like manuscript it comes from. Anyways, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and also when we get into this a little more, we're going to find that they don't necessarily look like this. They have a lot of different looks, actually. One of the interesting things that I found is that they have sometimes woolly hair with like a more of a witch hat, not necessarily a top hat like that,
or the Phrygian cap, right? I see a lot of Phrygian caps.
And so it's interesting that they have woolly hair, the red beards. Yeah, we'll get into that more later. But here's some fascinating facts you probably didn't know about leprechauns. The leprechaun is perhaps one of the best known creatures in Irish folklore. Leprechauns are popularly depicted as little men with beards, dressed in green coats and tall green hats. Other well-known beliefs about leprechauns include the pot of gold that they are said to keep at the end of the rainbow, and their mischievous nature. Whilst many are familiar with this general depiction of the leprechaun, there are aspects of these Irish creatures that are less well known. So let's look at those. The name leprechaun has a few possible origins.
Mark.
Their number. There are a number of different theories regarding the origins of the word leprechaun. For example, one account states that this name may have been derived from the Irish le brogan, which is translated as shoemaker. Another possible explanation for this name is that it comes from the word lucherpon, meaning small body. Yet another is that it is from the word lucharmon, meaning pygmy. It may be pointed out that originally the name leprechaun was used only in North Leinster area, and that other regions of Ireland had alternate names for this creature, including Luricon, Luchermain, and Lugardhan. Lugardhan. And also, I want to point out too, that's not in this article. There's another possible origin for this name that we'll talk about later from the Mediterranean. Um, Leprechauns are descendant of the Tua de Danann. Leprechauns are considered to be part of the fairy family, and that they are descendants of the Tuatha de Danann, translated as peoples tribes of the goddess Dana or Danu, who were a group of supernatural beings who invaded Ireland in the distant past. Interestingly, the existence of female leprechauns is not attested to in Irish folklore. One explanation to get around the problem of leprechaun procreation is that these creatures are actually unwanted deformed children of fairies that have been abandoned by the rest of the community. This may also serve as an explanation for the leprechaun's notoriously grouchy, solitary, and untrusting nature. Leprechauns have cousins, or a more mischievous dark side. Whilst leprechauns are
Uh-oh.
known to be tricksters, they are perhaps not as troublesome as their cousins, the Cluricon, which also sounds to me like Kukulkan, right? According to Irish folklore, these lesser known relatives of the leprechaun are nocturnal creatures and are prone to causing havoc. For example, the Cluricon are often depicted as emptying out entire wine cellars and being drunk. In many stories, they are also said to harness livestock, including sheep and goats, and ride them around Ireland in the night. According to some folklorists, the Cluricon are not a type of fairy distinct from the leprechaun, but the leprechauns in their night form. In other words, leprechauns experience a complete change of character when they get drunk after a hard day's work. Here we go.
Except if the clericons, you need to. They said that they can protect wine cellars if you treat them right. But if you don't, and you just say, "Hey, little, look at you, little clericon with your little micro green bean, get out of here, you fucking nerd," and then they're like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna spoil your entire life."
That's bullying. Don't
Yeah,
bully the gun.
they're vengeful little fuckers, man.
Hi.
Hey,
What's up, Mark?
yeah, man.
No,
Leprechauns work hard
I-
and earn well.
I love this.
Go
Hello,
ahead.
I'm here.
Me too, man. Me too.
Leprechauns work hard and earn well. Speaking of work, leprechauns are believed to serve as cobblers to the other fairies. Therefore, they are said to always have a hammer in one hand and a shoe in the other. Moreover, the noise made by leprechauns hammering nails into the soles of shoes are said to be audible by human beings. According to Irish folklore, fairies are very fond of dancing and because of that are in constant need of new shoes. Therefore, shoemaking is a lucrative trade in the fairy world. One
Yep.
result of the leprechauns trade is that they are very wealthy fairies, and it is commonly believed that leprechauns keep the gold that they earn in pots hidden at the end of rainbows. Alternatively, it is believed that leprechauns are the bankers of the fairy world. In this case, the gold they keep may not be their own, but belong to other fairies who have entrusted the leprechauns with safeguarding their wealth. Interesting. Leprechauns are a protected species. Finally, leprechauns are considered to be part of a protected species under European law. This status has been granted by the European Union to the supposed 236 leprechauns that are living today in Carlingford Mountain. If was here that It was here that in 1989 the remains of a leprechaun were allegedly found by a local pub owner by the name P.J. O'Hare. One day a scream was heard near a well, and when O'Hare arrived at the scene, he saw bones, a tiny sou, and some gold coins near a patch of scorched earth. These items are now displayed in a glass case. So, leprechauns. So, are the leprechauns just the stuff of myth and legend? Not according to Ireland's only leprechaun whisperer, who insists he's seen these little people.
The only one?
74-year-old 74-year-old Kevin Woods from County Louth in Ireland said he first encountered leprechauns in the Cooley Mountains more than 20 years ago. According to Mr. Woods, there were once billions of them in Ireland, but they all died out, and now there are just a few hundred left. He now spends his days running Last Leprechauns of Ireland tours. So is Mr. Woods just a leprechaun, or do these little people of ancient mythology really exist?
Man, I'm getting this vibe that there
Leprechauns?
was a family of worldwide, global, little tiny cons, the Con clan, as we can call them, that were
Yeah,
connected at all
right.
these different sacred sites. And what was happening,
And they were
but
lepers.
the families on the boats, the Spanish conquistadors, and one of their missions was to take out the little people. Who knows, man? Like, I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the big story here, man. These
I
fucking
kind of equate them to like little workers or imps or gnomes or elves that like worked for Santa Claus. If you think of like the myth of Santa Claus and like the Tuatha De Danann and Odin, and like how the elves were workers for Santa's workshop, they kind of have that kind of sensibility to them too, where they're like working hard and they're
Yeah.
just disgruntled because they're not getting their payday, so they're pissed off and angry, kind of like Roman. He's like a little leprechaun.
Gladly. Like I said, you want to be friends with the Clon clan because we're gonna become clowning on you soon enough. So you better climb into the carriage, baby, because
Come
we're
on.
gonna chop your carrot top. Let's go.
Don't resort to threats. You're not going to win anyone over that way. I thought of dwarves when I heard your reading there, Dan. Specifically when they mentioned them as bankers and like having the
Yeah.
minerals and mines and whatnot. Kind of reminds me of like what we see as dwarves, in certain folk tales and movies and whatnot. Lord of the Rings comes to mind. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I thought that fairies and leprechauns were more synonymous, and I'm starting to think that maybe leprechauns are closer to what we would consider like little people, right? Like the little people that you find all over the world in different indigenous cultures, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, whenever
Yeah.
you guys will allow me, I have some stuff prepared to read as well. So just
Nice.
no, you don't have to let me
Yes.
go now, but definitely keep that in mind that
Excellent.
I got some stuff to.
Well, I'm gonna. This what we'll do. I was gonna follow up that etymology with another etymological paper I have, and then we'll pass the buck after that, and then start diving
Yeah.
down. We could go off from the name because now we're
Let's
just kind of covering the name.
let's just keep it going on around in a little fairy circle here.
Yeah, a little fairy circle. We will have Thomas joining us soon. I do have for when we want to take a little break, I need to go grab something that's over there, and I found a really great song that we can have play for like a couple minute intermission. It's hilarious, and it is in fact
Excellent.
titled the Leprechaun Song. So looking
That's
forward
great.
to that. Looking forward to
Written
that.
and produced by yours truly, Barley Stone.
Oh my, these guys, I could never compare myself to these guys. You know what I mean?
So these are like your artistic inspirations. These are your muses, I see.
One of the subgenres that they had on their Bandcamp was Jewish pop. So
Oh, okay.
I'll say so.
The old Jew pop. That sounds like a
Yep.
soda you might find in Brooklyn.
Dark cherry.
Kosher.
Kosher salt. Hey, so this guy went deep on, he wrote an entire paper on the etymological history of the leprechaun, and it's super wordy, so we're not going to get into much of it, but just within a couple paragraphs he drops all of these different ancient Irish sagas and pre-Patrick Ireland, which a lot of people considered pagan Ireland. So anyways, but he's going to go over a bunch of mentions and actual Irish text of the name and how it actually shifted to be leprechaun from these other names. So here we go. Now, while on the one hand, the mention of leprechauns in Etre Fergusa might indeed be the earliest in terms of internal date of the text, on the other hand, this is certainly not the earliest scribal attestation of this word. To my knowledge, the earliest occurrence of leprechaun in a manuscript is found in Lebor na Hudre, where the term appears twice, but not remarkably, as Lucherpan. In fact, Lebor na Hudre provides a direct evidence for the existence of a fluctuation between Leprechaun and Lutrapan, at least since the late 11th and early 12th century. In the first occurrence of this word, scribe A of Lebor na Hudre initially wrote Leprechaun, but later added the C over the P and P over the C, as if wishing to amend Leprechaun to Lucrapan, which is the spelling adopted by scribe A at 2A45 Sam, whatever. It's a manuscript with the addition of the Lenitian marker of the letter C. In general, the manuscript tradition of Sam appears to privilege the Lutrapan and minor orthographical variants thereof, although it should be noted that the readings matching the earliest occurrence in Lebor na Hudra can be found in C and the two above mentioned blah blah blah. So there's this thing called the manuscript of Sam, and I have it in my other tabs here. Let me pull that puppy
Which
up.
is interesting is like lucha means like light body or little body. And if anybody's ever heard of like a luchador, it's like a little Mexican masked wrestler.
Oh, okay. And you know what? There is a lot of little humans in
Balder's son, the son of Balder. Who's Balder? Maybe Benjamin, our friend Benjamin is.
You don't know Balder?
Balder.
Come on, dude.
Balder is Ball.
Ah,
Ball.
okay. Jeez. Well, I guess Benjamin Ball's son.
Mm-hmm. No, he totally is. It's a homage to the true, because Balder had played a huge part in the story and like later became king.
Hey, don't let me derail it. This is obviously something you guys already know. I'm sorry.
Balder's son. No, that guy.
We did
he
a
actually came on
North
and went into
mythology
that.
month.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was in there.
Let's see. So I'll just do one more page of this. So let's see. The occurrence of the word Jesus, dude, reading like Gaelic and Welsh and Celtic and Irish shit is like oh, here I was doing this to Dan the other day and he hates it. You ready? Schoon, 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 schoon.
I feel like we're in Super Mario right now, and I just won the
All right. It's fine when it's like 5 seconds, but when you do it for like 5 minutes, it's fucking annoying.
Oh my goodness. I love annoying my friends. I'm that guy. It's terrible. I have a problem.
You're like a leprechaun.
Okay, the occurrence of the word Jairgirk in Etre Fergusa does not constitute a further proof of antiquity, even if it is elsewhere found only in the Amra Sholum, Chile. I have argued elsewhere that the Amre may not be as old as it is usually believed, and may in fact be a 9th century composition or a re-elaboration of earlier material. The presence of th after an unstressed vowel in a handful of words is similarly inconclusive, as has been persuasively argued by Kim McCone. According, it is probably safer to date Etre Fergusa to the Old Irish phase in general, rather than to the 8th century specifically. Now, while on the other hand, the mention of leprechauns in Etre Fergusa might indeed be the earliest in terms of the internal date of the text, on the other hand, this is certainly not the earliest scribal attestation of this word. To my knowledge, the earliest occurrence of leprechaun in a manuscript is found in Lebre Nehudre. Oh, wait, I already read this part. Oh, my goodness, you guys.
My God.
What an idiot. Okay.
More tricks.
More tricks up my sleeve just to do
I
the
don't know. I
thing.
think they're repeating themselves for some purpose there. That's all. I don't
No,
think
that was the same. Oh no, exactly. You're right, Mark. I didn't make a mistake. That's exactly what the
yeah,
paper is framed
it's
like.
repeating itself for, you're reading something that I think is meant for someone who has a linguistics a background of some degree, like they know how to
Yes.
read all of these
Yes.
different
Yes.
because every time you see that capital letter C or R or like
Mhm.
all those acronyms, like those are
Yeah.
part of that like speak of a linguist. Like there's different terms to
From this paper alone, I learned different linguistical terms like this one. I was like, what's a metathesis? Because it talks about metathesis. And a metathesis is the transposition of sounds or syllables in a word or of words in a sentence. Most commonly, it refers to the interchange of two or more contiguous segments of syllables, meaning basically just they switch letters. The letters switch spots. That's what that means.
cavalry versus cavalry. I think that's just I think that just happens because people speak in different ways. I mean, yeah, metathesis. It's
Well, that's exactly, and
tomato,
that's
tomato. You basically
the
learned what tomato is
yeah,
metathesis.
metathesis. But that's what leprechaun is. You know, when we're looking at the etymology of it, is it's like there's all these different like variations of the name and the word itself, and it's all because there was different people writing the stories. I mean, when you're piecing together folklore, you know what I mean? Like you're piecing together folklore. Oh shit! Sorry, we have someone waiting to be brought in.
Oh.
You're gonna get mixed match letters, alphabet soup, and all the things. Thomas.
What up, guys?
Welcome. Oh, he's got a book. He's ready
I
to.
was just checking to see if my book here mentions leprechauns.
I did the
This
same
is-
thing when I joined. I was checking my books. I'm like, which books do I have that have leprechauns? I found one. Thomas, if you want to jump in after I go ahead and read, unless you're not done yet, Rome.
Well, honestly, this doesn't have any leprechauns in it, so you go ahead. I've got some other notes.
All right.
Here, let's do. Okay, yes, let's do this, and then we'll do the music intermission after your piece here.
You hungry? You gotta eat something?
I gotta grab something that's on a timer right over there, and it'll be fun. Don't worry.
Okay, cool. So am I going now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm
Yes.
I'm just gonna take a quick excerpt from actually I mentioned him last week, given his book deals a lot with fairies, but he also touches on leprechauns and other different creatures throughout folklore. It's Joshua Cutchin's new book, Ecology of Souls, A New Mythology of Death and the Paranormal, volumes 1 and 2. And on let's see, page 198, he says, fairies hoard treasures within these sites. By these sites, he's talking about abandoned structures and different places in, seemingly normal situations. Like in your neighborhood, you might have an abandoned farmhouse or something. Fairies tend to hoard treasures within these sites, a legend perhaps inspired by gold and silver grave goods interned with bodies at burial grounds. Treasures could be obtained one of two ways: by waiting for it to emerge from the mound glowing, then reverently collecting it within 7 years, or by traveling directly into fairyland. The other
Ooh.
holds immeasurable riches for those brave enough to enter. Another trope claims captured leprechauns reveal their hidden gold caches. Given that immortality is itself the ultimate treasure, this might parallel legends wherein heroes or shamans succeed in vanquishing death and take him, Death, prisoner by keeping Death in a bag and hanging him over a fire. The hero puts both their own demise and the death of others on hiatus, though Death inevitably escapes. Little people delighted in leading people astray with ghost lights, strange noises, or enchantment. Anyone unaccountably led to unfamiliar areas or finding themselves in familiar areas rendered unrecognizable might be deemed pixie-led or pook-laden. Disorientation either serves as a prelude to abductions or equally often wanes until the path home is eventually rediscovered. So this is kind of one big thing to think about is usually people who encounter leprechauns or any sort of being like that, they often find themselves disorientated, whether it's because they're somewhere they've been before or all of a sudden somewhere that's very familiar to them seems unrecognizable. And abandoned structures tend to also be in that vicinity where those disorientations take place. So he goes on to connect it to some Chinese legends and whatnot, but I'll stop there and maybe pick up in another part of the show because he has more to say about
Yeah.
leopard.
It sounded like
I lo-
that word that you said kind of sounded like pixelated, like a small
Yeah.
pixel.
Poke-laden and pixie-led are apparently
Yeah,
different,
pixelated.
the same
A,
term.
a puka in Hawaiian is a hole, so like a small puka. So like you percolated, you're bubbling. You're puka-lated, you're inside a hole, but you're pixelated, which means you're fragmented. And pixies, and then there's the mushroom connection too, which we covered last week a little bit about what an actual fairy circle is like there once was a magical circle created there, and the mushroom fungus is able to like emanate the old and be like place markers of what is a
There's
fairy
a,
ring.
speaking of leprechauns, I think it's funny because Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath, has a song called "Fairies Wear Boots." You gotta believe me. And it's funny because we just talked about how leprechauns make boots for all the other peoples in fairylands. So obviously they do wear boots because the leprechauns are making boots for all the other fairies.
Ozzy, dude, Ozzy's a cult as fuck, man. Biting off the head of the bat, like come on, like let's do some
Accurate,
rituals,
but
man.
yeah.
Wait,
I
what?
like too. I had to look up that pixelated word, the etymology for that, and it literally translates to mildly insane or being bewildered or tipsy. Whereas pixelated, pix just comes from the word picture, but
Mhm.
L, as in pixel, means like an element. Like one of the fundamental elements. So
Ah,
I mean, even though I don't think there's like a direct etymological relationship between pixelated and pixelated, they obviously are both referring to like something that you can see that then inspires insanity, essentially, right? So in the olden times, before there was pixels, you had pixies that could invoke this like tipsy hallucinatory feeling, and now we do have
yeah.
pixels that sort of do the same thing, just in a very secular and like scientific way, right?
Yeah, what's the spelling
Interesting.
of that word you just mentioned? Because I said pixie-led, but it seems like there's another
It's
word that's
the
come.
one that I found is Pixilated, and it
Oh,
says,
like pixelated.
and it
Oh,
comes from 1848. It says,
Wow, very strange. Yeah, and that leads into this concept that people, whether it's leprechauns or not, run into creatures that are associated with gold that have the ability to like disorientate you and take you on a journey
Yep.
even to the underworld.
Yeah.
yo,
and then the little
Fascinating.
tricksters that usually lead you astray too, right? Like even in Peter Pan, for example, like Tinkerbell was like even the original story, Tinkerbell was kind of like a little shitty, jealous sort of chick that was like constantly trying to get Wendy killed, like was literally trying to trick her and lead her into demise, and like, oh, go play with the mermaids, they're fun, you know, go swim with the mermaids. And like all the mermaids are also super jealous because everyone in that original story just wants to jump Peter Pan's bones, right? So like all the women on that entire island that aren't children, like all the mermaids and the pixies, like they just want to constantly jump Peter Pan's bones. So they're trying to lead astray anyone that might get in the way of that, which gives it like a very dark twist, because it's not just, oh haha, we're having fun, we're gonna like lead you down this alley as just a prank. It's like, no, we're gonna lead you down this alley and then we're gonna murder you, so that we can basically, you know, have sex with the person that you're imposing on.
Yes. Hello. Oh,
Who's
anyways, man, dude, there's so much here that we can segue into, because we haven't even started to touch on like the magical sacred sites of all these places that they come from, and the connections of little people, and then of course we can get into the alchemical homunculus side of things, and the whole allegorical story of the pots of gold and the rainbow.
Let me do this one last one for the etymology, just to have all of it kind of done, so that way we can get into the rest of the stuff. Because this is another interesting origin of the word leprechaun, and it says that it comes from the Irish leprechaun, metathesis of Old Irish luterpon, which traditionally is explained as literally a very small body, from lu, little or small, and from pi root, legwh, le, not heavy, having little weight, and corpon, diminutive or corp or body, from Latin corpus, from pi root querp, body form appearance. However, Celtic linguistic scholarship has recently found a different explanation and connected the word to Latin lupercalia. New research by Simon Rodway, Michael Clark, and Jacob Bisagani, published in the Journal of Cambrian Medieval Celtic Studies, traces them back to the Roman luperci. The luperci were bands of aristocratic youths who ran naked through ancient Rome in the festival of Lupercalia on the 15th of February. In the 5th century AD, St. Augustine of Hippo compared the luperci with the Greek werewolves, who were believed to change from men into wolves by swimming through a lake in Arcadia. 2 centuries later, Irish scholars misunderstood Augustine. They thought he meant that the luperci were an ancient non-human race. Because they could swim, they were supposed to have survived Noah's flood and taken refuge in Ireland. So in medieval Irish legends, the leprechauns, or little luperci, still lived underwater. The wolf connection was soon forgotten, and eventually the little lupercus became the familiar land-dwelling leprechaun of modern Irish folklore and tourism. So that's another interesting origin name that connects them to the Lupercalia festival in Rome.
Yes. Which is hilarious, because they also had the ancient Roman holiday of Lemuria itself, literally called Lemuria, which was a homage holiday to like ancient deities and the Day of Death and stuff. So that's really fascinating, because that's so crazy, because the Roman takeover of Ireland was totally a big part of that war that was going on, you know, like, and bringing the Christian faith there. The story of Patrick, I only vaguely got into the story of Patrick, and like I'm trying to dig a lot deeper into Saint Patrick himself, and because that's when the shift of culture and Irish culture comes along, you know, is the imprinting of Christianity there. And so some of the stories I was reading was the leprechaun came after the Christians had came in and printed themselves in Ireland, but then some of them are saying they're from the Tuatha De Danann, and they're magical fae folk. But then other ones are saying that it's like, no, they're not tiny people. They were never little people. They were big and scary beings, and potential, like, you know, harmful beast to people. And so that's what I was saying when we first started it. It's kind of hard to catch the leprechaun in the sense of where the fuck it actually comes from. If it is, or if we are talking about little people, if we're talking about the potential of God, because some etymological ties to the god Lu or Lugh, which I think in Irish there's something to the Lu 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 le, like that type of, that
Lilliputian.
Lulu. What's that? What is this?
Lilliputian from Gulliver's Travel. They
Oh,
were a
great
group of little
movie,
people
man.
that tied up Gulliver.
Oh man, great movie. Those are good times. What's happening, Morgan?
Sorry.
What's up, Martin?
I always have problems
good.
the first time I try to come in here. Anyway, did we talk about like the Irish folklore already?
Oh yeah, we're just wrapping up actually. So
Okay.
no, I'm just kidding. Oh, terrible. No, dude, we're just getting started. What do you got? We're talking about
Okay.
bronze etymology.
Oh, okay. Well, like when I think of leprechauns, I really think of like the other world, like when you think of like Avalon or the mythical place or like the enchanted place or like things like that in the class of fairies, right? Like the elven place, like the little people.
Fairyland.
So in the Mabagonian, there's a lot of cauldron and a lot of human bones and a lot of like animals involved. So when I think of like a leprechaun in his cauldron, he's probably making like an inganga, or however you say it. It's like Nganga, like the where they okay. It's an ancient like tradition in Palo Mayombe and a bunch of naturalist religions where you make it's like a homunculi almost, like what one
I got you. I'm gonna pull it up here on the screen here.
Okay. That's what I think about.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of just starting to dip our toes in that okay, here we go. This is interesting. I did find some African connections too
Right,
to the
some
leprechaun.
naturalists.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Or even Celtic people.
Yeah, which means so here we go. Nganga is a Kikongo language term for herbalist or spiritual healer in many African societies. In many societies of the African diaspora, such as Haiti, Brazil, and Cuba, it is derived from Ganga and Proto-Bantu, which means medicine, as this term is the multiple reflex of the Proto-Bantu word. There are slight variations of the term Bantu-speaking world. Look at this guy. I mean, yeah.
No, like you gotta. That's the mask. They have a cauldron. They're and
pots.
Yes, or you can use like gorges or like
gourds.
Yes, different things to clay pots usually.
Crocodile teeth.
Have you ever heard of like the Uluburun shipwreck? They had several of these things like in the Bronze Age. They used to just wrap all these up like in a to-go, but I don't even know what they would do or how they had them, but they would just literally just ship them to other places. But they're like how to basically make your own homunculi naturally. People actually do it. That's why I brought it up, because it's still like people do that shit today.
A part of the culture, eh?
Yeah, Palo Mayombe and Santeria and things like that. Just all like the natural list, like I'm not saying like all naturalists, but like if they, the Kuahan. Yeah, that's also another thing.
Yeah, well, earlier I was thinking like the con, because there's the Claricon, the Leprechaun, right? And I was like, oh, well, they're the con guys. They're the conners, the con artists or
Yeah,
whatever.
look
Con
up
art.
Kukulkan. Look up Kukulkan.
Yep, that's what I think about too.
Okay, how do I spell it?
Like a spiritual
That's a
leopard.
hard one. KU
What I was gonna
L
say, that was just, oh, sorry.
KU
Hold on.
HAN.
Oh, I missed all of that. Sorry. Start over.
Sorry.
KUL
Got you.
KHAN, maybe.
Cool. Oh, I got you right here, baby. Yeah. Absolutely. But so yeah, when I was talking about the con clan earlier, I was like, I wonder if there actually is a con clan, and then I looked it up, and this is when I found these guys. And
Well, there's like so many like branches of that too, I'm sure. But that's just like actual proof. But what happens when you're in these like cauldrons, like of whatever you're in? You can't get out unless you grant 3 wishes to some person. So that's why they like coming. So doesn't that make you think of like Aladdin and the genie?
the Jinn, yeah. There's in American Gods,
the Indian, Cherokee. I'm sorry.
Oh, you good?
All the natural people, like the people of the land, have some sort of myth about it.
Yeah, in the show American Gods, which I just finished, which is a great show, by the way. And then I heard even a greater book. He kind of like ties the Jinn and the Leprechaun, like they work for Odin, like they have a tie to the Allfather. And so like, there's like that cross correlation that Neil Gaiman makes in his works, which I thought was really interesting. But let's take this quick musical break. I'm gonna play this song that is hilarious. It's called the Leprechaun Song. Play that for a couple minutes and then come back, and then let's dive into the cauldrons and the pots and the alchemical relationships between these different cultures and the little people and stuff, because that sounds like kind of like the direction that we're heading, eh?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. So this band woo! Oh, hold on. I gotta go back. I gotta go make sure I share the sound. This band is called No Homo, and I said, wow, really, guys? But it makes sense because they are actually a comedy band. Oh goodness, did I?
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna leave real quick, but I'll come back. Okay, and I'll listen.
Yeah, no worries. This is going to be just a small break while I also go grab an item real quick, because there's an item in which I must have, because items are life. Items are the way of the leprechaun, the Clerican, and the con clan. So here we are.
Play.
Here we go.
Wow.
Hey, you up in that tree, staring down at me. Hey, you, adorned in green, are you a little man or strawberry? Are you a leprechaun? 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 Are you a leprechaun?
This is funny to you?
Are you a leprechaun? Are you a leprechaun?
All right. I'm good on that.
Emo leprechauns, Tara said. Are you a leprechaun?
They're like punk rock leprechauns.
Leprechaun's life is hard. My leprechaun's dad left me no gold.
Gold for me.
Oh,
Believes in us. All our trees are burning down. Leprechaun emo music, people.
oh my god, dude! When I found that last night, I was like, I am done. I can complete my life now. The research is over, and I know the truth of leprechauns. So
You love that. Like, this is the beauty of your show, is like you guys are equals and opposites in a way. Like, Dan's sitting there like horrified. You're so satisfied with that song choice that you got up from your computer and walked away like no need to even.
Oh, it was like a mic drop, bro. Mic
Yeah,
drop
there was
moment, totally.
to worry about what anyone's gonna think about this. And Dan's just sitting there like, what's going on right now?
oh,
Fucking
true
punk
glory,
rock music.
dude.
I was at least hoping for like a good like Irish pub song about leprechauns, you know.
Yeah, I was thinking
he
Dropkick
comes-
Murphy vibe.
Yeah, he comes back
Oh.
with some fucking punk rock BZ emo shit. That
Are there any like
Are
really good leprechaun songs?
I stopped looking after that. I was like, this band's name is, which, like I said, guys, I don't attest to this band's name being a good one at all. I think it's quite ridiculous. But the band name is No Homo. I just remember that.
I
Like,
think it's
in,
ironic
like
because
the
they
mid-
are homo.
It's ironic. Yeah, it's all ironic, and irony is a high form of comedy. Okay, if you can accept irony into your life, you can accept Jesus. Okay, so are you a leprechaun?
Isn't there
I
there's a
am.
leprechaun rap song in Leprechaun Goes to the Hood, I believe. Or
Oh,
Leprechaun
yeah.
in the Hood.
Leprechaun
Looking
in the
for that
Hood.
No, I'm looking for that.
I know there's a rap
We
song. I don't know if it's
need it.
leprechaun oriented, but I know there's a full song in that movie.
We need it. We need that. I'm gonna watch. Oh, the original Leprechaun horror movie came out in 1993, and that just goes to
This
show
is
you that like they made
this is
what,
great
like
YouTube, by
10
the way.
movies.
And that
It's
had
great
Kathy Ireland in it, didn't it?
Kathy Ireland, who'd that
In the
be?
original Leprechaun?
Ooh,
I might
She's
have
from
that
Ireland,
name
though.
wrong.
Mega Babe.
Mega babe.
If she's a mega babe on the YouTube,
Yes. This is the
dude, you got your sound shared, your sound tab clicked, sound tab click.
You hear it?
You might have to go. You might have to go back and hit your sound tab when you do.
and
Yeah.
it was Jennifer Aniston
Oh,
in
you
the
couldn't hear
Leprechaun movie, not Kathy Ireland. She was in some other horror movie.
What?
Uh,
Homegirl Jenny Annie?
Yeah, I think might have been like one of her original movie debuts.
No, dude, that
Yeah.
just I am full. I'm so fulfilled, guys. I'm so fulfilled. Life is so fulfilling. Oh, we have a new human to the stream.
sevens.
Seven lions.
All
What's
sevens.
happening? Welcome. Are you a leprechaun?
Yeah.
You have to roll a 7 and then I'll appear and be really short. Am I
Yes.
7 inches? Am I 7 feet?
7 dimensions.
It
of the
depends.
You could be.
I gotta-
No,
I gotta-
hey, I was just.
Go ahead, Seven.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to throw an early
No,
mention
no.
in the mix because I'm used to always bringing up how mushrooms are the source of almost
Yes.
every major mythology, and I had heard recently that there's a word for pixies and leprechauns that also has the same word for mushrooms in like Gaelic slang, and it's called like pookie or pookies or something like this. But it essentially shares the same word, and there's this whole rabbit hole that you can go down where essentially the druids saw Amanita muscaria as like this sacred drug that was only reserved for those that could truly handle it. And this is kind of the origin of why you see leprechauns are typically sitting on a little Amanita muscaria mushroom. They're not kind of far behind that. And in addition to like the little fairy rings that would grow under the conifers that were removed
Yep.
later, a lot of this happened to not just be because of all these coincidences, because it really was the source of a lot of that original sort of mythology and beliefs of like, the priest class and the kingmakers and the guys that decided who would suck on each other's nipples, because that's how you would show royalty in
You're
sort of the
not
jury class.
wrong.
There's actually a story that I found about leprechauns, and he had to nurse the leprechaun with his breast to get it to leave him alone.
Because it's a sign of kingship and authority. For you to have the capability to breastfeed as a man actually was like the highest form of masculinity you could possibly convey, which is why they would find these assassinated druids in these bogs with their nipples cut off. Because that way,
goodness, yes.
in the real life and in the afterlife, they could no longer achieve that same level of authority and kingship because they could no longer breastfeed their subordinates, essentially.
Wow.
We just discussed this in our last dopamine deep dive. Everybody, you can go check out the full. We went a lot deeper and harder on the Boggy Bottom Boys.
But I want to say, if we're gonna form a band, I've got a way better name than No Homo. It's gonna be called Leprechaun Nipples.
Oh goodness,
Leopard
yeah,
nipples.
that was a great find, man. It is super interesting thread. And the bog bodies, the bog
7-inch
The
nipples.
bone marrow.
7-inch. Oh, 7.
7-inch nipples.
Welcome to the Sunday slow burn, man. Thanks for joining on. Do you want to say hello and do a little introduction for yourself, brethren?
The intro. Well, I was literally just sitting down eating dinner, and then I saw you guys post a link, and I click it. I'm like, oh shoot, this is the stream. It's not the YouTube. It's just read only and doing comments.
Oh,
And then I was like, well, I can sit here and watch from here,
you sure can.
and it's the same thing, But now it's like
Yeah.
you put me on the spot. So I'm like, okay, I gotta speak up now. But no, I'm associated with the spiders stuff and been following them, and then I kind of got into seeing your channel like in August. So I've kind of
Excellent.
been here and there catching up with. It's tons of stuff. It's
So much
amazing how you guys are putting this together every week with all sorts of ideas and putting together like a catalog or library of thoughts that are provoking and lead to other weaves or whatever you guys call it here. So yeah, keep doing all the idea brainstorming, because it's like an onion. We're unraveling the onion every year with new things, and it's amazing how much stuff is just hidden in front of us. And it's every year or every 5 years you realize it's all a lie, and you learn brand new things. The more you look, I should say. If you're not looking, you're not going to notice anything's different.
Yeah, I tend to find that there's like a deeper connection to like actual history with some of these mythologies and folklore. You can actually see the connection into it, and to me, like even like the leprechauns seem like little disgruntled workers that were like hired by the seeders of the Tuatha De Danann type, who were all over the world seeding everything. And then you have these little worker bees like the leprechauns who are like disgruntled and they want their fucking money, and so they didn't get paid, so they're just pissed off and stealing people's money and tricking people and stuff like that. I think it's kind of funny. It's kind of a funny thing in the Irish mythology. But then when you look deeper, you see that it has origins elsewhere or parallels in other societies too, to little people. And so it's kind of interesting. There's like a Homo, I think it's Homo florensis or Homo hobbitus.
Florensis.
You're right. You're right about the Florensis.
Yes, yes.
That's a little skeleton they found in the islands of the Indonesian islands. But, yeah, and allegedly there's even living people, little people in that area as well. But bring it back to what you were saying about leprechauns being on top of mushrooms. There's a story.
Up. Roman, can you turn the background music down a tad bit?
Yeah, I'm like shouting the tasty bass licks over there. So here's a little story. that kind of shows how this isn't an old phenomena. Here we go.
Mhm,
folks. In Peru,
No.
in 2010, Dan Periam consumed ayahuasca and was
Don
sitting on a
Perignon.
log when several leprechauns beckoned him to come have a drink. Not one to turn down a party, he blindly followed and approached an imaginal stairway leading underground. Just as the wooden door opened, my consciousness shifted back to the hut as the secondary shaman was anxiously yelling at me to stop and come back now. His concern was felt. So here's an example of somebody taking ayahuasca and having Dan Periam, I don't know, sounds like he could be a European dude. So maybe, if you were maybe a certain, your ancestors were from a certain region under the influence of ayahuasca, you might be predisposed to see.
Ancestry has everything to do with shamanism. It has like the most everything to do with it. It's like and when they start mining these bones, there's a reason why, and it's for the bone marrow. They do something with the marrow.
They like mummy dust. Mummy dust is something that has been used for medicine for centuries. They would legitimately go and rob tombs, get the bones, and the bodies and dried up bodies of humans is a huge medicine. And especially now it's pretty silenced, but in occult everything, body dust and the use of body parts is incredibly important. And so I think the dried up bone marrow plays a huge part in that. Like there's a special type of chemical process that your body goes through when you take mummy dust. And at some point when they ran out of actual
Roman,
I
said, tell us about it.
I mean, I've never taken mummy dust, but just up until the late 19th century, early 20th century, it was available on the market. It was absolutely available. And what they would do is they would actually trap people in the desert, because there's a way that the body preserves itself in the desert that makes mummy dust, or the body mummify in such a way that they were taking it from pharaohs and being like, this is the good shit. This is real mummy dust. But they found...
I got that 2800 BC shit right here.
Thomas, you like this, bro. You like this because this has to do with adrenochrome, because they found that people that died under more stress and were mummified, actually the mummy dust was stronger, as opposed to the pharaohs who were laid nicely in and they were embalmed in their aloe vera and honey. But that slow death didn't actually have what they wanted. They wanted the people that were frightened to death in order to have that chemical constituent that got dried and mummified would actually hold more medical value and function than would the actual mummies from the tomb. So they were killing people on purpose to harvest their bodies.
There's a lot of modern research that backs that up too, that like using chemistry and biochemistry and all sorts of double-blind studies that actually proves that the genetic sort of inheritance, like if your parents or like your grandparents are prone to schizophrenia, right, then their body, schizophrenia actually is sort of body's self-defense mechanism against an overload of adrenaline. It's how it kind of deals with this extra adrenaline so it doesn't literally give you a heart attack. So being a schizophrenic actually can lead to longer life as long as you can either recover from it or treat it, because you kind of have this natural ability to process large dumps of adrenaline that would kill normal people. It also reduces, the amount of cancers that you might get. The cancers that you do get are much less malignant, much easier to treat. And there's all sorts of like youth enabling features of kind of being a recovering schizophrenic or having the traits of someone that has a schizophrenic, but it's like kind of like recessive in you, where it doesn't come out, but you're still able to retain all the benefits of that. And this is actually kind of links into this, because people that tend to like, whether you're forced to become schizophrenic through stress, torture, like sensory deprivation, or if you've taken drugs, psychedelics, or if you're just naturally schizophrenic because of various deficiencies, all of these things can still result in your offspring having all the advantages of schizophrenia as long as they don't actually inherit it as well. So it kind of goes to say that same concept of someone that dies in fear or dies in a crazier state, they could potentially have some sort of potent element or remnant of a chemical in their blood, in their body, that represents that like stronger gene. Like I don't think you can just like snort it and it just automatically works. It's kind of like Lamarckism, which kind of went out when Darwinism sort of took over. But that idea of like the engram, right, where you can like actually ingest a physical neural connection and absorb it and make it part of your own. There might be something to that, and we just laugh at it now. And then 100 years, we'll be like, those idiots overlooked the easiest way to get smart. You just eat that dude's brain.
No,
And
that's what they've been doing for centuries. That's what they do. That's what they've always done. Like our cousins before us, the Denisovans. As soon as we came out, like, and I don't know what the date was. But as soon as the Homo sapiens or Homo sapiens sapiens, right? Homo sapiens sapiens, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what we are?
Yeah.
There's like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as soon as we came out, our brains were like twice as big and we started marrowing and eating our ancestors. That's like the first thing that we were known to do.
Cannibals.
So because it elevates there's something in the like the blood brain barrier that just soaks up eating other body parts. I think that's why there's so much cannibalism in.
Like that's what they said, or like I heard or read this somewhere. It's like we came out shorter, so we were giants and we came out shorter, but our brains got bigger.
Until you reduce down into an octopus, which is only brain and vibe. Like you're just like
you're back into the flow.
Octopus are like way up here on the level of like just knowing what the fuck's going on.
Knowing.
Like if I transmute myself into a squid, I'm stoked.
God is an
somebody
octopus.
will eat you.
Yes,
It'll taste really good, hopefully.
Squids are more like dumb dogs, aren't they?
That's why Odin had an 8-legged horse, right? It was actually
that's what I was gonna say. Is Odin ever depicted as an octopus?
Octopus, yeah.
Oh,
I don't think
that's
so.
That's interesting because eight seems to be important too in Egyptian mythology. The sacred eight were these primordial deities that had frog heads that came from the water, right? So eight-legged horse could have been, who knows, something similar.
I mean, I think that the Merkabah or the chariot of whatever Sir Odin was riding could probably change with perception and location and like upon some sort of, what's interesting. So back to leprechauns, right?
Rhiannon rides the horse, not Odin. It's feminine and it's the moon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think Odin is definitely he's like depicted as a man a lot, but like he weaves, right? He weaves in between
so does she
the Hermes side. Like who does Odin who's the feminine side of Odin? Like what is that in the Norse mythos? I'm unaware.
Frigg.
It had to be Freya. Isn't she the owl? Or I don't know Norse mythology as well.
Well, Frigg was the goddess of love, essentially,
which is everything. So she's the real winner there. Sweet. Well, back to leprechauns and like talking about like this. What we were talking about earlier with like pixelized and being pixelated and getting like swept into a flurry, and we're just talking about schizophrenia and. Sacred sites with heavy electromagnetic energy are places that are going to be like hotspots for these types of elementals, right? To come through. Like, we're talking about leprechauns who potentially are made. They could be made creatures. Like Dan and I, before we started getting today, we chatted on the phone for a little bit, and we're talking about, the story of the Anunnaki, how, in that story, we were created in order to mine gold for these gods. And the myth, you know, with leprechauns being on the other side of the rainbow bridge is oftentimes depicted as like a bridge to the other side, or the portal. So just on the other side of the wall of the gods is where the golden pot lies, you know. But also there's talk of the peacock and other, you know, rainbow elements in the alchemy story. So it could be an alchemical story, and the pot of gold is the transmutated lead into gold, or the philosophical
Iron,
gold, or, you know.
yeah.
And so I think there's a good chance that, you know, this is like another kind of interpretation of like either like us, in the sense that we were really put here to mine for gold for some ulterior planet, you know, and we were a genetic manipulation. But, you know, I think there's a good chance that the leprechauns were genetically made, you know.
Well, that's actually a good point, because if you think about it, the concept of gnomes, and like Rosicrucian gnomes specifically, is kind of like that seven dwarves guys that go into the earth and they extract these these precious metals. Seven dwarves that go into the earth and extract precious metals.
Colors of the rainbows.
And they're essentially discovering these jewels for humanity, but they have no use for them because they're so low down the totem pole that they don't actually understand how to process wisdom. That's kind of like the jewels. But the Rosicrucian gnomes are very similar to what we consider as these leprechauns, and the leprechauns have sort of this exact same role, where they're always either guarding or in search of gold, but they themselves have no use for it. They can't spend it because they don't live in that same higher level sort of frequency world that humans live in. But they're more antagonistic, right? Where like the seven dwarves are agonistic. They help us get these jewels, and like we almost facilitate this because we provide them a bridge to the human world, and we let them experience all these range of human emotions that they can't actually experience by themselves, because they just represent base elements that are in the earth. And the leprechaun, I think, is something similar, but instead of the leprechaun being trapped inside the earth as an element, it's kind of trapped in this like spiritual pixie realm. And just like you know, the original archangels were sort of jealous of humans and the human experience, so as this leprechaun is trapped in his own little cave of, you know, the spiritual realm. And again, that Rosicrucian aspect of like, they're mining gold, they're mining things for us. And where did the Rosicrucians first really spring up was on the West Coast, you know, the same place as the gold rush. And I think that that's not just a mere coincidence. I think there's a synchronicity there.
Dude, okay, well, okay, so fuck. Oh my god. So what was it? The Rosicrucian tombs, right? Like, so there's all the cave lore that leprechauns are hiding. They're in the cave, they're in the cellar, where the alchemist that always has its lab is underground, you know, underneath the cathedral or in some sort of beautiful sacred site. And that's where the alchemical properties and things be happening, right? That's where the lab is. But in the Rosicrucian stuff, they have the Tomb of Illumination. And Freemasonry, there's the Tomb of Illumination, where you would go into this tomb and like be in there, and you'd be locked in your little cauldron, dude. Like, you yourself are going in. And so I think
you're supposed to be contemplating death right there, and just being humbled by the concept of mortality, essentially.
And that just sounds like the leprechaun story to me too. It's like there's this, because the Masons always met in caves in the early days here. Like, there's Masonic caves all throughout California where the gold rush was happening. And before, like the really, really famous one just up here, up the road, like a couple hours, it's like a site. You go and check it out. And the old couple that lives there, they'll be like, yeah, this is the two caves. And then they'll say, this is where an Indian burial mound used to be. And you know, then they did this before they built
now it's the gift shop. Go buy something.
Right? Buy our crystals.
So there's the lore of like just on the occult and the esoteric to go underground, where the leprechauns live, where the gnomes live, where the minerals are, and to be underground connected to the minerals to basically get the fucking gold. Because I think that's the ultimate job, man. It's like we're all just put here to be.
Well, it's like the
getting
sword
the gold.
and the stone, like retrieving your sword from the philosopher's stone, just like, you know, your alchemical process of transmuting yourself.
Speaking of leprechauns,
our iron cauldron, our nganga.
Oh, Yes, the Nganga. Oh, we were talking. Yes, I'll pull that tab back up.
Because you have to have, like, in the leprechaun has to grant 3 wishes to get out, kind of like the genie in Aladdin. I'm well caught up on Disney movies. I have a kid right now, so she watches it. But anyway, it's kind of like the indigenous people, like they have to grant 3 wishes to get out of the bottle. And yeah, so that's kind of like their spiritual realm out as we descend. Does that make sense?
And they lose their lucky coin, then their magic goes away. It's kind of like when the
transmute our lead into gold. Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, you have to you have to make the leprechaun.
Yeah.
You have to bring them, and then they have to grant you. They have to do it if, like, you
it's
are
your
able
own homunculi. I was trying to.
And that's where the philosophical transmutation comes in, because once you're able to fucking vibe high enough to where you just see through the veil, the leprechaun's always been there, but now you can see them.
You retrieve your own sword. Yes.
Dude,
it just reminds me of the Smurfs with, they live in mushroom houses, and it's just the symbology of, like, they're blue people, so there must be electricity or something around, just like the was it Dr. Adam, or the guy that lived on Mars in that one comic book series? I can't think of the word, but he was all blue.
Also, if you pinch a psilocybin mushroom, the key indicator of whether or not it actually has psilocybin in it is that it turns blue.
Word.
Oh.
Apparently, mushrooms make batteries too. Like they've used mushrooms to literally be like the medium in between negative and positive rods, so you can make like sustainable. Yeah, so there's definitely, because you were saying the Smurfs, they're blue and there might be some electric. I think it's true, and that's another connection to the fairy ring stuff. Why there might be more like electromagnetic energies, and Ireland, Scotland, France, like that area right there is all on a huge tectonic plate. Like the volcanic energy is underneath there. It's just very, 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 very old and dormant. But so that means that like I haven't taken my scanner over there to go check, and it's hard to find. Like I've been trying. If anybody knows a good source or a website where it tells you the EMF frequency at every location, like there's not a map of that online being like how much EMF is coming from Portobello, Kansas, so we got to go around with our readers and document where has the biggest electromagnetic frequencies in the world, man, and then we just fly there every year. We sail in our ships.
I think we have a really high one over here. Like it turned our rivers backwards.
I was about to say, I'm not too far from New York City. I don't think you need to look much further than the whole East Coast for EMF overload. I mean, every city on the East Coast is pretty much plugged into the other city next to it. They're all one big, huge matrix of EMF.
Well, and then the telephone lines underground, like underneath the ocean, too, you have to consider. When do you think of that as well?
Wait, they have the telephone lines underneath the ocean to Europe?
Oh, yeah.
Transatlantic cable line?
Oh, they've been having that for a long time.
For internet, too, yeah.
I mean, they laid that like over 100 years ago or something.
Yeah, it's been so long. It's been forever.
Oh,
that's
yes.
A rabbit hole to go down if you're bored.
Shannon says, isn't that the Schumann resonance? And yes, definitely. I just I don't have. That's what I was asking. If anybody has like a good actual website to be like look up specific locations, because I haven't found a good Schumann website, because I look at them and they're just like, I don't understand what's happening. It's probably because I'm pretty dumb, but yeah, if anyone's got a really good website, link me up, dude. Link me up, Dad.
I'll share one with you. There's one out of Siberia. It's in Russian, but you can swap it to English.
What's up, Bird Dog? Nice
what's up, Mark?
Yeah, what's happening, baby?
What's up, Mark? Morgan, Paranoid American. It's a pleasure, sir, to share space with you.
Likewise.
Danny Nucky Dan, Sevens, and of course, Romy. You guys are amazing. It's an honor to be here. You guys are crushing. I tend to think of, by the way, thanks for that song. I'll be jamming to that all week on repeat. I love it.
No, you won't.
I got you. Me too, man.
Dude, I think when I just to roll it back a little bit, all the attributes you even started about leprechauns, it seems like a whole society. Like you had, they were in the money, they manage the money, and they're making shoes. You know, they're basically like the Jordans. You know, you want those leprechauns, baby.
Yeah, lucky leprechaun boots, dude. Yes,
leprechaun.
Loafers.
You know, you get the 4-leaf clovers on the side. You know,
yeah.
It sounds like, you know, all these. I doubt like one leprechaun is like does all that. It sounds like a society.
Yeah.
Yes, word.
And everyone's got their thing. You know what I mean? Now, and of course, I tie it into getting wiped out like every indigenous type of natural, you know, peoples, so to speak, and that probably ties into. Yeah, that probably ties into the St. Patrick's thing. You know, I was put in the chat. You know, there's a lot of people that claim African pygmies were deep in, and they are now like the leprechauns. But and then all these, I don't know if they were like our people, if they were powerful, if these are like made up things about them. I don't know. And then you hear that they kidnap people and Shanghai people. What do they do with that? I mean, you know, it's hard to cut away rumor from.
Well, it's like there's a ripple effect, you know, like when you break the chain of like what's supposed to happen, like it really screws up like further and further down the line.
And those like Romanian type gypsy type people, a lot of people think little people are like lucky, you know, like you know, this ties into so much, man. You know, the dwarf, and it's just like I like to zoom out and try and look at the big picture, and it's like, wow, the connections and the weaves are just incredible. This realm is so complex and wonderful. But anyway, go ahead, guys.
I feel like if you're lucky, you know, what that means is like you're just in the right place at the right time a lot of times, you know? So it's like, what makes somebody lucky? You know, it's like making the right choices, being in the right place at the right time. So I think you know, maybe if you're more of a compact human, maybe you're closer to the earth, you're more grounded, you're just like naturally more in tune with what's going on. And then, you know, maybe that's something to do with one of the benefits. And slightly schizo. Yeah, dude. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that, baby. You got to better having more thoughts than no thoughts, right? You know what I'm saying?
These syncs that we're all having, I don't know if syncs happen to everyone. They just don't notice them. But I feel like everyone here, we take syncs as a way of life nowadays because we're kind of paying attention, or maybe we're activated. For me, I use it for confirmation because I'm always seem to be in the right place at the right time. Yeah. Synchronicities happen like constantly. I'm like, I'm just tuned in. I don't know what to tell. You know, is that luck? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's luck. It's timing.
Well, I want to point out too that there's evidence that humans have eradicated smaller groups of people. The most boring but obvious is the pygmies, which is something like 50,000 years ago we found traces of them, and there were rumors that they existed all the way up until very recent, like modern history. But generally the premise is that there was an entire race that wasn't Homo sapien. It was like Homo like Luz Humanus or something like this. And that it was this entire, you know, separate species of smaller people that we call pygmies today, but it probably encapsulated a much larger range of people. And for whatever reason, you know, Homo sapiens just eradicated them off the earth. And there's been stories about similar things where like pixies and leprechauns are sort of antagonists to humans because we've fought before. And, you know, I assume that I guess humans won, or at least they like went back to the fairy realm and they're hiding to come back and attack us again when they up their numbers. But there's, I mean, even if you step aside from the pygmy evidence that humans eradicated them, it kind of sounds like humans. That's such a human Homo sapien thing to do, is to be like, look at that inferior thing that may be smart enough to compete with me. Let's just get rid of it. And we've done that over and over again. So there's probably a little bit of truth, even to like the most outlandish stories here, I think.
So bro, and Morgan, you brought up, are there fossils or evidence of people? Oh, you brought it right up. Never mind.
Oh, I didn't bring that right up, but someone did, and I appreciate you. Yes, there's evidence for sure.
Thank you.
But also, like, it's been told oracularly how to make your own nganga. I mean, these people have known how to because they were verbally told how, and it took a long time, but they knew what they were doing because someone told them. And like these people that were indigenous to this place, like, I don't think that they were supposed to mate with a different class of people when they did, or like something in that sense happened. But yeah, we've been mining our ancestors for their marrow. And if you look at marrow, there's a whole mythology about that and the Irish folklore.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's another, like, we don't have enough time to go down that rabbit hole, but that's another one to go down. And that's like also like from the sea, or like, half fish, half man, or half fish, half
Morgan,
woman.
would you date a little person
No.
if they were cool? Because what if they were really cool?
Like super cool.
Like super cool. And maybe they
super cool.
Because maybe they got gold. They got, hey girl, I got a pot of gold and I got a lot of
baby.
Well, a lot of girls will do that for money these days, and yeah, a lot of girls do. No, I wouldn't. But what these people did back in the day was like they had their own chemical that they would. Like these women would wake up in the morning, kind of like Zeus, how he used to rape people. Like these women would wake up in the morning and not know what had happened, and if they were with child, they really did not know how it happened.
Or he slipped in that kaiki on.
So I brought that up because there's obvious stories of giants and Nephilim, you name them, breed like in Zeus, like you said, and breeding with like, I guess, people our size. I don't know. So I was just asking you, would you, since giants maybe would date you, like a giant might date you. So you're saying you wouldn't date a little person.
You must be this tall to ride the ride.
Ride this ride.
They do have DNA too. Like they do have like, I'm not an expert on this one, but they have like some sort of if you get to
different bone marrow. We've already like gone through this. So their iron is transmuted into gold, which has affected their bone marrow. I guess people get, and which I didn't know it had to do with their adrenochrome. I thought that had to do with like a totally different gland. But anyway, like
different glands hold different properties. So if you get,
body
at the right time.
But like apparently they eat that or get high off of it or don't get old, never get old, or never like whatever.
You gotta have your you gotta have your dried glands in a jar, chilling,
And then ganga.
So I'm gonna read this little article. It's fun. I want to see if you guys can tell if this is just a classic archaeological spoof that is just for some Irish fluff to have some like draw towards, let's go visit Ireland, or if it's real. And what you guys think about this? There's little bones here. As Dr. Jones explained, through carbon dating and forensic analysis, the team was shocked to discover that the bones were those of a mature adult male dating back to 5,500 years to the Neolithic era. Through skeletal re-imaging, they were also able to rule out dwarfism or any other developmental defects that have resulted in a stunted stature. Instead, they were looking at a fully grown and proportioned adult measuring just under 3 feet. Strangely, tests for the age of death repeatedly came back flawed, with results of 3,582 years. Other artifacts retrieved from the dig site included another of the iron pots, a piece of square metal similar to the appearance of a belt or a hat buckle, and 17 grams of golden ore. There was a variety of confounding inconsistencies concerning the findings, Dr. Jones said. To start, it's inconceivable that the Neolithic era would have possessed such sophisticated materials. Secondly, in my 36 years in the field, I have never encountered remains of such a small, mature adult from this era. It was the junior forensic archaeologist Brendig Ogg who first suggested it may be a leprechaun. Initially, everyone laughed it off, and Dr. Jones said, but after continuing to hit obstacles and piecing the stories together, they began taking the possibility more seriously. There is a wealth of myth and lore surrounding leprechauns, and it's not entirely impossible that a subspecies of very small people with a penchant for gold, existed at one point in time, said Dr. Jones. They're tentatively classing it as Homo leprechaunus. Many questions remain, he added. Well, how did they get to the high Briasal? Were there any others like him? How did they become in possession of such advanced materials at such an early stage, and why was he so small? Looking back over the fields, Ogg was struck by his description of how the team landed in the third dig site. The day had been a wash and to an early rainstorm, but the rain stopped just 2 hours with daylight left. And they were all amazed to see a magnificent rainbow pointing straight into a clearing. And then they went to investigate. You can't make this stuff up, Dr. Jones said. Extensive additional digs and research will take place on the island throughout 2018, starting again today, April 1st. Though he was small in stature, his significance is huge, said Dr. Jones. Real or not?
Of course not, dude.
Oh my god, you guys bursted all my dreams.
Well, April 1st, but also the dead giveaway is that the Iron Age didn't start until like 1500 BC at the very earliest, and they're trying to date it to like 4000 BC.
Oh man, it's just tourist fluff. Hey, I'll go anyway. I will go.
Well, has anyone here actually been to Ireland?
No, unfortunately, I've not.
Not a single person here?
Mm-mm. No.
Let's go.
Let's go. Honestly,
it's on the bucket list.
Yeah, I got to let's all do a huge group meetup out there in Ireland, and let's do this, man. That'd be so much fun.
Who's got that mushroom connection? Because I don't want to get Brittany garnered on the way over to Ireland.
I don't know.
Gordo from TCG.
Oh, that's right. Hell yeah.
Speaking of Gordo, I did like a book review with him, like an initiation into Hermeticism, and I was going to tell y'all
different Gordo.
Oh, my bad.
The many Gordos of existence.
I was going to tell you about the electric fluids of the Akashic ether. And
there you go, Daphne.
Didn't you ask what color blue or what color the hermaphrodite was?
What?
Didn't you ask? Hold on one second.
This sounds like the lead up to a good punchline. What color? What's the color of a hermaphrodite?
It's democratic blue.
They mix up stories in history like that too, because the classic Paracelsian story of when they dug up, or they didn't dig it up, they had his bones safely in like a chest or whatever. His bones had been preserved for like hundreds of years, and they were like, actually, this might be the pelvis of a woman, but the rest of the body parts seem to be from a man. And they're like, is Paracelsus? Did he have a? But he was also pretty short. Honestly, Paracelsus was a pretty tiny dude also.
Bro, he found that transmutation, and he found it out, physically and literally and metaphorically and everything, bro. Dude. He consolidated the male and the feminine, and he became representative of the ultimate philosopher's stone, no?
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And he was into the Germanic grimoires and everything, dude. Like, motherfucker was extremely occult. Also, he started medical cannibalism. He wrote like the book on medical cannibalism, dude. Like using body parts for medicine. That's Paracelsian as fuck. Just for fun. Just throw it in there.
Back to the legends of like leprechauns a little bit. When looking at this one page here, a lot of stuff we've covered, but it says that many leprechaun legends feature a robin This most common bird is a great friend of the little fella, so don't kill or trap robins, even accidentally, unless you're looking for some bad luck. So that's an interesting one that you don't really hear about too much. It says also the little people are great distillers, having been given the secret of whiskey making by the legendary Tuatha. Some say their tendency to overindulge in homebrew is what makes them so belligerent and unpredictable and turns even the friendliest wee chap into an evil leprechaun. And although they don't have formal qualifications, leprechauns are very intelligent, as well as being great poets, athletes, philosophers, and musicians. They are also accountants of the other world. Their reputation for miserableness is to some extent unfounded. They are in fact the Irish fairies' treasurer, and they take their responsibility seriously. This is why they hide crocks of gold wherever they can find rainbows and go to great pains to stop greedy mortals from finding their stash.
I get Kanye vibes from that a little bit.
How they're bankers and whatnot, but says like they're the treasurers. They're like the keepers of the. Yeah, they're kind of like the bankers.
Dude, I would love to see a leprechaun brawl, dude. That would be hilarious. Just a drunken
fighting Irish.
Yeah, the fighting Irish, dude. The lucky Irish. This all connects. It would be still so funny though. Yeah, and the money thing, exactly. Like the whole pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. I mean,
it's an alchemical story, no doubt. Like it's an allegorical story that like ties in to so much shit. It's kind of weird. But I will say this, everybody, much love to all the humans. Dan and I have a sweet interview with a wonderful guest here in about 30 minutes. So maybe let's go around the fairy ring and tell some final stories and thoughts and share all the things. And, let's do a closing circle on maybe hone in on some leprechaun energy. See what we can conjure up here as we close out the conversation.
Oh man.
Okay.
Anybody else have any final thoughts or
Yeah,
stories?
I think it's strange the leprechaun stories again have this element of like kidnapping, and it's sort of reminiscent of modern UFO lore, and there's even some UFO encounters that involve leprechauns in Ireland and places where leprechauns are more a part of the psyche, the cultural psyche. So yeah, it's really cool to be here as always on the Sunday slow burn. And yeah,
Thank you, brother.
I don't have much to add other than look forward to the next episode of Esoteric America featuring myself, lovely Tara here, and yours truly over there, Roman. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you for being here, brother.
To add a little bit to what Mark said, the leprechauns are often associated or confused with the changelings, which would take little babies. There's the story of the fairy tale of Rumpelstiltskin, right, who took the baby, and he had to find out his name, but he was weaving all of the straw into gold, right? Yeah, so it's kind of it's leprechaun-esque, but not necessarily leprechaun. So there's kind of that story there too. It's kind of in that fairy realm. There's a lot of these different fairy type creatures that are are very similar. So there's like what's the other one called? The
Claricon,
or what's it?
The Claricon.
Yeah, the Claricon.
The Claricon is the cousin of the leprechaun, and he's the little drinker.
Yeah, it's confused with the leprechaun also too. So there's many little people type stories. I actually have one last
Do it,
story.
baby. Yes. Share that screen.
It's called the
big and wide screen.
Oh,
big, huge, big and wide screen. Put it on. Everyone to see. Yeah. Come on, man. Oh, come on.
I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it.
Let us see it. Oh yeah.
Roman, are
I'm going to show
you
you.
for your ASMR Patreon?
Here it is.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Oh yeah, Dan, show us, Dan.
Oh, yeah, buddy. Okay, all right. Anyways,
Yeah, here it is. All right.
Oh, good
Here's
impression.
the little fella. Hard evidence of Neolithic little people in Scotland, Hawaii, and Indonesia. From the lush, foggy hills rolling through the Scottish Isles to the primordial peaks of glorious Hawaii, and all the way across the globe to the wild rainforest of Indonesia, evidence of a little people dwarf species is emerging from the depths of prehistory. It is difficult to decipher the difference between myth, legend, folklore, and historical fact when objectively delving into these island dwelling short people. The easy way out is to hop on the rigid, biased academic bandwagon and belittle such concepts as nothing more than ancient fiction. But this position is textbook flawed reasoning. When these ancient accounts of ancient little people are approached with true objectivity, a peculiar pattern presents itself.
Yes.
Skara Brae, the Neolithic little people of the Orkney Islands. Skara Brae is a small cluster of very strange ancient stone dwellings found in the Scottish Orkney archipelago, and the only thing stranger than the ruins themselves are their suspicious treatment by archaeologists. Originally, these 8 Neolithic houses were subterranean, hidden beneath a mysterious mound that was wiped away by a violent storm in 1850 AD. 18 years later, the first amateur excavation occurred, after which the ruins were abandoned. Then the site was allegedly looted and of many artifacts in 1913 AD, and it was not officially studied until 1927 AD by the University of Edinburgh. Professor Gordon Child came to the feeble conclusion that the site dated to 500 BC, but this was obviously incorrect, and the 70s material from the site was carbon dated to 3100 BC.
Dude just threw a random guess out there. It looks about 500 BC to me.
So here's a picture of one of the Skara Brae locations
The
showing
hearth.
evidence of little people based on the size of the
Can you
stone
zoom in on that?
furniture found in there.
The hearth is still there.
No, I cannot zoom in on it. Now you messed up my picture.
Oh.
No. Skara Brae, little people, enigmas, and controversies. These 8 little dwellings came complete with stone beds, a central hearth, shell midden insulation. I think you guys have been talking about that for a while. And indoor toilets draining outwards from the structures. But most interesting of all are the dimensions of the doors and beds. The doorways and beds barely reach 4 feet, 1.2 meters. And so the only logical conclusion to make from these dimensions is that the inhabitants were indeed diminutive in stature. In other words, these were little folk living underground. This fascinating oddity is deliberately overlooked by the academics, who have also managed to neglect and misplace precious artifacts over nearly 2 centuries of haphazard excavations and biased studies. Equally enigmatic is the inescapable fact that these dwellings were suddenly abandoned. These wee inhabitants seem to have been in the terrible rush to flee their homes, vanishing into history, leaving behind all manner of possessions. For example, stone spheres equal in weight and circumference, with 3-dimensional designs on them, and whose purpose is a complete mystery. Orkney little people megalithic sites are interlinked. Skara Brae is one of the related groups of anomalous sites now designated collectively as the Heart of Neolithic Orkney World Heritage Site. The standing stones of Stenness are a nearby collection of 12 enormous standing stones nearly 20 feet tall with a central hearthstone. The ancient henge predates Stonehenge, and there is a growing consensus even among mainstream scholars that this is the oldest henge in Britain. The rings of Brodgar is another spellbinding site within the Neolithic cluster. The site contains an astonishing 13 artificial mounds not properly excavated, along 30 to 60 more gigantic standing stones, all astronomically aligned. The final site in this anomalous cluster is Meishu, supposed burial chamber mound containing massive stones and aboriginal runic inscriptions. And all these sites are connected by a series of low roads, which proves beyond any doubt they were built by the same dwarvish people who inhabited Skara Brae.
Wow.
So there's little people terms, trolls, dwarfs, and clericons. We also get into on this the Menahune, the little people of Hawaii. There's the Orang Pendek, the elusive little people of Indonesia. The Flores little people, Homo luzonensis, the little people of the Philippines. Reasonable conclusions about Neolithic people. And I'm just going to kind of end it there. But as you can see, there's different little Neolithic people all over the place. And they have found some actual ancient sites that show that there were ancient people living there.
Yes.
I'm in. I'm sold.
Yes.
So as well as there's like classifications in science for these little people that they have found, Homo habilis or something like that, and also Homo floresiensis. So they agree that little people exist, as well as giants do exist too, because we have giants in our society now. They all play sports, and there's a lot of 7 foot tall, 8 foot tall. I think in Guinness. There's that one guy who was like 9 foot.
Lots of giants, dude. We got there's so many pictures online. If you just search giants and hit past couple centuries, there's a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we know small and big humans, they all be living, but are they using the magic, baby? That's what's up.
My consensus is I kind of think there was all kinds of different types of human-like people that existed in the prehistory. And if you want to get like biblical with it, like Noah's flood only survived, or there's only one species that survived the flood, but there was giants still living after the flood, according to that mythology. So maybe all of those other types of species were kind of wiped out, but through our genetics and our genes, some of them still pop up into society today through gigantism, dwarfism, even people with tails and hairiness pops up into the genome, and the people being born like that. So obviously some of those things existed in the prehistory. And so I think, yeah, there was different types of humans that existed in our ancient past.
Whoever the computer wizard is, can you bring up a picture of Tom Thumb from like the Victorian era?
Oh, stop it, dude! Of course. But first, I wanted to share this. I wanted to share this first.
Proof that there's still little people.
He's buried not too far from where I live in the Barnum Cemetery. They had a whole
the actual Tom Thumb.
Yeah.
What are other thing? Oh yeah,
there was a little person that was like, I think she was only like 18 inches or 19 inches tall. She was in the
India, right?
Too. Okay, so this first
of all, American
she was in American Horror Story. Yeah,
big show.
You guys need to try this. I tried it. It's so amazing.
That's not Tom Thumb. Why
this is great. This is what you do: is you take your muscle milk.
Culture.
You take
you already lost me, bro. You already lost me.
Come on, dude. Just go to Tom
All right,
Thumb.
yeah, we gotta get off of here.
Oh my goodness. Fine. But look at this. No, stop. Listen. P.T. Barnum.
You get so sidetracked, man.
No, I had that tab pulled up from a long time ago. I had to share it before we parted.
that got
If he's
murdered.
chilling with P.T. Barnum, that is some real next level occult shit. P.T. Barnum, yeah, like tapped in, man. So just saying.
Everything is a cult to you. My poop in the toilet is a cult.
Oh no, but we're talking
It
about
probably
P.T.
is.
fucking Barnum. Like this is, I mean, legit, dude. Legit.
He did have a
I
he
get
did
it.
have
I
a
get it.
mummy. He had a mummy. Yeah, that's kind of a cult.
Dude.
Oh,
P.T.
that's
Barnum.
so cool.
Yeah.
What else?
Dude,
what
the
are you doing?
entire
Well, he was
reason
sewing.
he was
He
buying
was
up
sewing
all of
fish
these old
bodies onto
buildings.
people too. So
He what later he was actually in politics, and then later in his years, right before he died, he
under
was like
my thumb.
the anti-contraceptive guy, because there was a lot of talk that he was actually raping a lot of the women that were in his P.T. Barnum
Oh,
freak
Jesus.
shows and
What
then
did that have to
procreating with the
do?
people in his fucking circuses. So he's a piece of shit.
Dark history.
Yep. But
Okay,
it's the
so
same story. It's just cyclical and it's fucked up.
I just have to always share that. It's like, yeah, fuck you, P.T. Barnum. You know, you're out here taking advantage of these people.
That's
You
what
know,
they
you fucking
do.
asshole.
Oh, it's the dude from Doctor Evil. What was that? What was that? Doctor Evil and the
Mini-Me.
Mini Me.
Mini
Yeah.
me. You
So
completely.
basically,
Mike Myers? Don't even get me started with that fool.
but it's the exact.
No,
We're basically looking at Doctor Evil and Mini Me right here in real life.
Basically,
History's
it's his
smallest
homuncula right there.
superstar.
That was in his
Look, he's
Oh,
even
no.
dressed like a leprechaun in that picture.
Although Tom Thumb seemed unique in that he
He's got
didn't
a top
have
hat.
conventional dwarfism
Mhm.
where the same proportions that you would expect. He actually
Mhm.
had, like, he was proportionate to his actual size, which is kind of the uncanny aspect of it. Like, he didn't have like the big head and like the little body, you know what I mean? He had like everything stayed in proportion.
All right, guys.
Roman's
I'm gonna
World. Roman's World. Roman's World. Party
go.
time. Excellent.
All right, no, thank you, Morgan, for coming on. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Oh wait,
babe.
Mike.
Anytime
Sorry.
when it's
My
about
pleasure.
Irish, Celtic, anything, I got you. I love it. Thanks for having me. Y'all have a good night.
All right.
Cheers. Until next time.
Hey,
Peace.
next week on Sunday Slow Burn, get ready for a deep dive into Santa Claus.
Nice. Guys, can I do Mark, dude, it's an honor to always share space with you, my friend. Dude, you're kicking out so much like I can't keep up with the amazing stuff. I can't keep up with all
Prolific.
the dude, you helped me on a road trip the other day. It was beautiful.
Oh yeah, where'd you go?
I mean, I cruise around Florida just to shake things up and get the karma move, you know, just to
you listening to the show while
Oh,
you're
we're
on-
in Florida.
Yeah.
right on.
Everywhere in Florida. I just went everywhere. East Coast, I went everywhere, literally, and jam into that Phantasm Phil. I didn't get to Zed's one yet, but dude, you're on fire, brother. So it's a true honor to be here with you, man. Paranoid American, you're great, bro. I hear you from time to time. Sevens, Danunaki Dan, dude. You guys are all welcome if you want to join my little unit, my little tribe. You know, we're small but powerful. Open invitation, and we're making ripples across this cosmos, like straight up. We had like Roman, you were on the other day, and it was I thought it was great. I thought we had a
Mhm.
good
It
old
was a
time.
great time. I enjoyed it.
Cool.
We talk about everything all at once. You know, it's
Oh,
very
yeah.
What's your
string of
channel called for those who don't know, brother?
Oh yeah, check me out on Bird Dog. If you search out Bird Dog 45, but I'm Bird Dog, the Crypto Ronin, sometimes known as the Mystic Ronin, and I use this info
AKA Mystic Leprechaun.
I'm the Mystic Leprechaun. I'm all things at once. I'm nothing at the same time. You know, I'm just a fractal of the oneness and trying to experience this independently, etc. But you guys are wonderful. Come check out my stuff. And yeah, I don't really want to plug. I just want to hang. You know what I'm saying? I'm the worst businessman. You know, I give everything away for free because I want everyone to rise. I want everyone to be empowered.
Yes,
And this show is your Sunday night slow burn is my number one hotspot for this time of the week. So peace and blessing.
Fuck
Rah,
yeah,
rah, rah.
brother.
I'm done.
Right
Thank
on,
you.
man.
Bye.
Hey, blah blah. That was tight, man. You're always welcome around here, brother. And I'm trying to sign on again next Friday. See what's good.
Well, I'll do
Paranoid
some quick
American.
plugs.
What's up,
Yeah,
Thomas?
I'll do plugs,
Yeah.
man. ParanoidAmerican.com. You can check a bunch of comics, stickers, clothes. I got a brand new coloring book that I just released last month called Modern American Lovecraft, which is like a nice little blend of Lovecraft and kind of like modern politics. Is a cute little coloring book. And what else? Oh yeah, we've got a either Dan or someone already dropped it, but we've got a Rising from the Ashes comic that is currently in production. Hopefully to start sharing some previews of that soon.
Yeah, buddy.
Looking forward to
Yes,
that.
sir. It's about
I'm jumping off
women
because
ruling
I
the
have
world.
someone waiting in
Female
the
Illuminati.
Zoom. And
All right.
I have a guest for interview. But I love you all, and Dan, you close this out, baby.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening. Thank you, Fire Tribe, and remember, wake up.
Wake up, wake up.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.
Peace. Thanks for having us.